There is a lie central to American slavery, a lie that the slavers told themselves. There is no doubt that their lifestyles were opulent, that their clothes were the finest, that their wives were adorned in the newest pearls, the flashiest gemstones, that in the summers they could vacation to Europe and travel and see the world, that there is an opulence that appears genuine on the outside, but once you scratch it just a bit, you realize why the South was willing to burn the entire country down to keep their slavery. It's all rotten. It's rust underneath the gilding. That once you take that top layer of paint off, there's nothing in it but a hollow soullessness. And that hollow soullessness is reflected in the way that a planter's wife looks overlong at any slave with lighter skin than his mother and wonders, is my husband the father of that child? It is in the way that the head of the household, supposedly this moral paragon, who spends all his time abusing his female slaves in one way and beating his male slaves in another, that when he leaves the home, he too is paranoid that his wife is finding satisfaction with someone that isn't him. It's fear, rank fear, that the poor whites in the community would one day realize that the reason they are impoverished is that all of the unskilled labor, and by the 1850s, a large portion of the skilled labor, is being done by those who are owned instead of those who are free. That rather than compete with their peers of multiple ethnic backgrounds for jobs and their merit would guide them, instead, that poor white man must understand that his job must be sacrificed on the altar of slavery, and if he figures that out, he might set the system on fire. It is the understanding, persistent above all others, that there is no liquid cash to spend. There is wealth, plentiful wealth, but that wealth is tied up in land, in human bodies, in the manor, in the tools, in the cotton, but not tied up in money. And so the liquid cash, the capital that these planters would spend on their lavish vacations, fine suits, and the best cigars, are taken out on loans, asset-backed loans, where their house is the collateral, where their slaves are the collateral, where their land is the collateral. That if the system changes, or God forbid, the system ends, their wealth and prominence dies with it. And so they concoct lies. First, lies that they tell themselves, that of course that child with lighter skin doesn't look like my husband, even when he does. Of course my wife, who looks overlong at one of the house servants, doesn't mean anything by that, because she can't. Of course the white men in my employ love me, respect me, value me, because they must. Of course the slaves are happy here and wouldn't rip us apart if given the opportunity for all the pain we visited on them, because they must be. And so when it is Abraham Lincoln who ascends to the presidency, he is the tyrant for the South. He is here to steal your property and take your business and your home, not because he is, but because he must be.
Okay, if you watch this video, you're going to see this man explain a slavery lie that was perpetuated in American history classes. If you go to the comments, you will see where I posted a comment that said Oklahoma will take your teaching license for this. Now, if you also look at the likes on the comment, we're at 1,600 and counting. So I have now apparently gotten into 2 heated discussions. One person of brown complected descent, another person whose ancestors were on the receiving end of slavery. Now, the brown complected person tried to tell me that my comment lacked context. Everybody else in the comment feed, except for that person, and now the person whose ancestors were on the receiving end. So now I got 2 of you. And the people in another comment feed about Oklahoma's education system and what that lesson would do. Nobody needed context. Everybody understood what is going on in the Oklahoma education system. They are trying to completely whitewash it and wipe it away. When I made the comment, Oklahoma would have your teaching license, apparently it furled some ancestors that were on the receiving end, because now somebody's trying to say that it ruffled my white privilege. Last time I checked, this is not exactly the island of the Caucasus. Granted, 23andMe would have you thinking a little different. But believe me, I don't, one, claim the island of the Caucasus. Two, racist, no. More along the lines of equal opportunity offender, because if you're white, I'm going to call you out on it because you should fucking know better in the first place. And then if you any other, bright Crayola box color, do you, boo-boo. Like, you do you. So for the ancestors whose feathers got ruffled, I do apologize for you not understanding the context of the Oklahoma education system. Two, everybody who's anybody knows what the hell's going on in the Oklahoma education system. Everybody knows the Nazi Ryan Walters that's in charge is trying to make Germany great again here in the great state of Oklahoma, and we're just not handling it very well, and we're not taking it in stride. So I need the ancestors to sit down for a second and get some context, because I'm about tired of this. I done already told one lady to get off Trump's left nut. I'm not going to tell this other lady to get off Trump's left nut because she's trying to argue that it has something to do with my white privilege. Honey, I don't have white privilege. Never have, never will. One, they don't view me as white. And two, I'm a woman. Women in the white community or the island of the Caucasus, we don't get privilege. We're treated just like anybody else. We are second-rate citizens to a white man. I need y'all to get that under the thickness of your skull. Do with my information what you will, and have the day and the life that you deserve.
Welcome back. So in this video, this man who is a teacher explains some of the slavery lies. So he talks about the lifestyle of slave masters, which looked very lavish and also very appealing. Now, these slave masters were able to go for vacations during the summer in Europe. So this was the lifestyle that they were portraying to everyone around the world. Yet he says that even though they regard themselves in the best of linen, in the best of clothing, and they use the most expensive pearls in order to look very luxurious and they dress very lavishly, they were rotten to the core. And then when you scrape that off, you could see that these people were not exactly as they claim to be. They were filled with a lot of insecurities, a lot of, in a way, inferiority complex, but they were covering that up in order to look very superior. Now he says that when the slave master's wife looks at the child of a slave who has light skin, now the slave master's wife thinks to herself, isn't that the child of my husband? How can a slave who has dark skin give birth to a child with a light skin? So this leaves room for question. And also, when the slave master travels outside, now he also has insecurities, and he thinks to himself, I am leaving my wife in the company of these slaves. Maybe these slaves could entertain her in a way, and this brings some form of insecurity on the part of the slave master as well. So both the slave master and the wife of the slave master were all living in some form of insecurity, or you could call it fear. And he says that there is wealth, and wealth is really plentiful. That is, there is abundance of wealth in the world. But this wealth is tied up in lands, in houses, in properties, and even in human bodies. So in the slaves of the slave masters were tied a whole lot of wealth. But he says that there is not much of liquid money or liquid capital, just as he says it. So you need to take loans, and then you need something as a collateral in order for you to secure those loans. So he mentioned lands, houses, and he added slaves. So this was the part that caught me thinking. And whenever you go for a financial capital, that is money from the bank or any financial institution, they demand for a collateral. And one of the things that was used as collateral in those days were slaves. So I keep wondering, why would you use slave as collateral? That means that there is some value in the slaves, because things that are taken for as collateral are things that do have value and can really offset the debts if you fail to pay or if you default in payment. And in those days, slaves were really used as collateral, and that got me thinking. Now, it is the slaves who work on the lands in order for you to get yield. So where is that wealth or yield coming from? It is actually in the slaves. So his statement that the wealth is tied up in human bodies, or the wealth is tied up in the slaves, I think is something that is very profound and that is very great to note. So this is what he says. He stated this slavery lie. Now, after his video, there were a lot of reactions to it, but I will look at this particular reaction from this lady whose response to this man's exposure of the slavery lie was that Oklahoma will take your teaching license. The man actually is a teacher, so this lady says that Oklahoma will take your teaching license, and this did not sit well with some of the people in the comment section, but her response was that some people misunderstood what she says or misinterpreted what she says. Now, what she was trying to say is that the education system in Oklahoma is whitewashed or is being whitewashed. So if you say something that is contrary to the whites, it means that they can take your teaching license. You are not going by their principles, their precepts, and their rules, so they can take your teaching license. So that was the note of caution that she was sending to the teacher who made this video. Now, someone commented on her video that it is because that ruffles her white privilege. That is why she is making the statement that Oklahoma will take the teacher's teaching license. But the woman justifies and says that it is not so, but she says that her color is not even considered white, and also the fact that she is a woman, she is treated like anyone else, and also she says that she's treated like a second race citizen to the white man. So it means even among the white community, the men are treated better as compared to the women. That is exactly what she says in the video. Let me know your thoughts about her opinion in the comment section below. Share your general comment about this video in the comment section below. If you know much about the Oklahoma education system also, let us know what you think about it, or let us know what it is about in the comment section below. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, your family, on other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, and the likes. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just click the subscribe button down here. Click on the subscribe button. Click as well on the notification bell. And I'd like to see you again in my next video.